Baron Karl Gustaf Emil Mannerheim was a Finland-Swedish professional soldier and politician serving briefly from 1944 to 1946 as the Finnish president, the sixth holder of that title. He was born into a family of Swedish-speaking aristocrats. He was originally of German origin. He made a career in the Imperial Russian Army from 1887 to 1917, rising to the rank of lieutenant general. During the Finnish Civil War in 1918, he served as the general of the White Army. In 1933, he was promoted to the rank of War Marshal or Field Marshal, and in 1942, when he turned 75, he became so far the only Finnish military officer to hold the title Marshal of Finland. He was quite an unruly boy, and he was sent to the Hamina Cadet School in 1882, I think. Yes, to learn self-discipline and a profession. Besides his mother tongue Swedish, he spoke at least broken Finnish, and then Russian, French, German, and English. According to the English language Wikipedia article about him, he also could speak Polish and Portuguese and understand some Mandarin Chinese. He became in Russia in the 1890s a member of the Chevalier Guard for the Emperor Nicholas II. He was transferred in 1891 to Her Majesty's Maria Feodorovna's Chevalier Guard. And his height, he stood at 187 centimeters, or roughly 6 feet and 1.5 inches, was an advantage. He also participated in the coronation ceremonies of Emperor Nicholas II in 1896. In 1892, he married Miss Anastasia Arapova, who was the orphan daughter of Major General Nikolai Arapov. They had 2 daughters, but already in 1902, Mannerheim separated from Arapova. He claimed, for example, that Arapova was lazy, while Mannerheim was quite sharp-tongued back then. They formally divorced in 1919. From 1906 to 1908, he rode through Central and Eastern Asia superficially as a scientist, but in fact as a military explorer. He was charged by the Russian government or army with the task of finding out defensive positions there. After his return to Russia in 1909, he was appointed to command the 13th Vladimir Ulan Regiment of Cavalrymen at Minsk, Mazowiecki in Poland. In 1914, when the First World War broke out, he became one of the commanders of the Russian army on the Eastern Front. He returned to Russia in December 1917. He was appointed Regent of Finland in December 1918, in which position he served until July 1919, when he was defeated in the first Finnish presidential election by the progressive and liberal lawyer Kaarlo Juho Ståhlberg. Then until 1931 he was a private citizen, often traveling abroad. His pursuits were mainly humanitarian. He headed the Finnish Red Cross from 1919 to his death in 1951, and he founded the Mannerheim League for Child Welfare. In 1931, he was appointed by then President Svinhufvud as the chairman of the Defense Council, and the appointment included the secret promise that in case of a war, involving Finland, Mannerheim would become the commander-in-chief of the Finnish armed forces. He served in that role from the end of November 1939, when the Winter War broke out, until his retirement from the presidency in March 1946. The German dictator Adolf Hitler paid a courtesy visit to Mannerheim in June 1942, when Mannerheim turned 75. Mannerheim reluctantly agreed to become the Finnish president towards the end of the Continuation War in August 1944, but he resigned because of ill health and because he felt that he had accomplished his purposes for serving as president in March 1946. Let's see. Mannerheim was an aristocrat not only by birth but also by his social attitudes. He suspected the modern party-based democracy of producing mediocre and partisan leaders, but he refused some offers by certain far-right officers of the Finnish army and other far-right Finns to become a military dictator. He loyally served the presidents who were in office while he was either head of the Defense Council or commander-in-chief of the Finnish army. Finland and Russia and the Soviet Union signed a peace treaty in September 1944. Free parliamentary elections were held in Finland in March 1945, and a Big Three government of Social Democrats, Agrarians, and Communists was formed. After retiring as president due to ill health, for example, a frequently recurring stomach ulcer, he spent his remaining lifetime, nearly 5 years in retirement, often in the neutral Switzerland. He began to write, or rather dictate, his memoirs in the late 1940s, but they weren't yet in their finished form when he died in January 1951. He was given a state funeral in Helsinki, and he was buried to the Finnish National Cemetery in the Hietaniemi district of Helsinki. He generally was and is regarded as a non-partisan man who cared deeply about Finland's security. And he in fact never joined formally a political party, although his sympathies were clearly more right-wing than left-wing.